Brother lads, welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. Mikel Arteta has just confirmed that this summer he is signing important players to add to a long-term winning team. The Crankies are backing him. They are going to spend money, and they have told him they will be giving him the players he wants. Actually, they have already started signing players, including Kai Havertz. We're going to be diving into the latest around that one. We are also talking Mikel Arteta's reaction to PSG rumors. He says, I'm really happy at Arsenal and I don't have anywhere I want to be rather than the manager of Arsenal Football Club. And we are also talking why he wants to sign players from Manchester City, because he has also given us a real reason why he prefers players from Manchester City rather than anywhere else. We're going to be diving into much of that. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. What are your thoughts on Arsenal going on to poach players from Manchester City now that they're signing maybe Giosco Givardio? Are you okay with Arsenal going in there to get John Stones or Nathan Ake? Is it like, do you feel like we're getting Manchester City watered down versions of players, or do you feel it is okay, players with experience, players that have worked with Mikel Arteta, and players that are Premier League proven and winners as well? Where do you stand on that debate, in that conversation? Is it because for me personally, I kind of feel like they improve us, but they make us Manchester City 0.0. But there's so many people who feel, yeah, you sign players from Manchester City, you are signing winners. Let me know in the comment box below where you fall onto that side of the conversation. Hit the like button. Let's get this one to 500. Mikel Arteta has just confirmed that Arsenal are building a title winning team, and that is very, very exciting. Now, Mikel Arteta has been speaking in an interview exclusively, and here are some of the excerpts that he's been talking about. First and foremost, Mikel Arteta, as quoted by Fabrizio Romano, on why do we sign players from Manchester City, he has said it is very, very easy to understand. It's because they are very, very good. I know them. I've worked with them for 4 good years. I wanted Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko for their amazing talent, but also for their human skills as well. Mikel Arteta talking to the marker there on why he signs players from Manchester City. He says they are good. I agree. I've worked with them for 4 years. I agree. That's almost half a decade. And he says he wanted Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus for their human skills as well. And I really agree with Alexander Zinchenko. I've not seen the leadership skills, or maybe I've seen the leadership skills in Gabriel Jesus, but the leadership skills in Alexander Zinchenko, they're out there for everyone to see. They're out there for the world to see. He's such a good leader. Like, we've been talking about leaders in this Arsenal squad, and maybe that we need players that could take us over the line. But how about players that in the first place take us to the line? And I think that is Alexander Zinchenko. I still remember in one of the games, I think it was the Aston Villa game. Was it the Aston Villa game that we won late in extra time? And he was talking to Match of the Day, and he said, I told the boys when I had just arrived that forget about top 4. We must be pushing for the title right from this moment. And I tell you what, adding a player like Alexander Zinchenko, who thinks that the youngest team on average age in the Premier League can win the Premier League, that is special. Like, first and foremost, to make them believe, and also to make them work towards that goal. It is absolutely incredible. So I agree with Mikel. If you've worked with a bunch of players for 4 years, it's something with what Erik ten Hag is doing, going to Ajax, bringing in Julian Timber, which he wanted, who he wanted, didn't get him, and then ended up with Lisandro Martinez, and then trying to sign Anthony as well, who he signed. So it's very, very self-explanatory in my opinion. Where he goes back to Manchester City, tries to sign Ike Gundogan, tries to sign John Stones, try to sign all these other players that they have in their project. It is because he believes in them, he understands them, and he has an interpersonal relationship, at least on a more basic level than any other players in the market. So Mikel Arteta there has just made it very clear why he signs players from Manchester City. It's because they are good, but because also he's worked with them for quite a very, very long time. Now, on our budget, this is where it gets interesting. Mikel Arteta on Arsenal's budget this summer, he says, look, we already made fresh already made a fresh squad, and he says we are now together with the owners building a winning team that could be sustainable for a very long time. This is what he says. We need important players, and we will attack the market to sign those players that we need. He has told the market. This is very strong. This is absolutely very strong. You know those templates that managers use to answer questions in interviews and press conferences. He's absolutely thrown it out of the window, because in most cases, a manager, when asked about the transfer market, says he would say, we need to strengthen. There are a few areas where we need some quality. Last campaign we fell off probably because we didn't have the squad depth, and that is what we will try to do this summer. That is what every manager says, apart from maybe Klopp. I think Klopp is a very straightforward manager. When you ask him about transfers, he says, look at that squad. I need players. I need reinforcements, right? We are finishing. That is Klopp. That is Klopp, and it's one of the reasons why I really like him as a manager. But Mikel Arteta also has gone bold when it comes to the transfer window and summer targets. Listen to that. We need important players. Will attack the market to sign those players that we need, and the Cronkies and I, the owners, are backing me to build a winning team that could be sustainable for a long period of time. Let's really go slowly here. Sustainable, long period of time, winning team, important players, attack the market. 5 key words in a very short statement. And I think all I'm going to say here, Arsenal fans, is be excited. Just be excited. Now, he's gone with Kai Havertz, a player with a very interesting profile, a player that I think we've not had ever since we signed, ever since we lost Mesut Ozil. We've not had a player whose intention is only to make runs into the penalty area and make sure that his primary role is to create chances and score goals. I think that is what Kai Havertz brings to Arsenal. He's gone with Declan Rice, one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world, topping interceptions in the Premier League, topping tackles in the Premier League, and also topping ball recoveries in the Premier League as well last campaign. That is the profile he's gone with. He's gone with Romeo Lavia, a very young 19-year-old at Southampton, who's been really good in the Premier League last campaign, to replace Thomas Partey and provide depth in midfield areas as well. And he's also gone with Julian Timber, one of the youngest but most exciting fullbacks and centre-backs combined, right? Because he's one of the interesting fullbacks to watch, and one of the interesting centre-backs, again, to watch as we grow into the market. So you look at what is building, and the transfer shortlist, that you don't build a 200 million transfer shortlist, one, if you do not have great ambitions. I mean, we need to talk about this. You don't build a transfer list in excess of 200 million if you don't have big ambitions, if you don't want to win the Premier League, if you don't want to win the UEFA Champions League. Because for me, Timber, Declan Rice, Romeo Lavia, Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, probably with another striker in the next summer, and Aaron Ramsdale and Saliba, in the next 3 years, that should be a UEFA Champions League, finalist team. We should make it to the UEFA Champions League finals in the next 2 years. Because I think that is when most of our players will be arriving, or will have arrived in their prime. Kai Havertz at 26, Declan Rice at 26, the likes of Saliba will be entering that. Maybe as a defender, you're not entering your prime, you're still very young, but still you understand what I'm talking about. So I think the ambition has now been redefined at Arsenal. The ambition is not to compete, because he doesn't say compete for titles. He says winning team. Winning team. Interesting. Arsenal fans, we could be going back to the top for the next many years. We could be talking Arsenal fighting for silver. And I think it is very hard to go a season unbeaten. Man United have tried to do it, and they failed. I think it's very easy to win the treble, because to win the treble, you don't have to win every single game. And for me, at the moment, if you can beat Manchester City on Europe, you can beat Real Madrid, who have that charisma because they just find themselves winning the UCL all the time. You beat those two teams, you can win the UCL. It's never going to be easy, trust me, but you can. The FA Cup, we are the boys for the FA Cup. Like, we can win it in our sleep. We can decide when we win it and when we do not win it. So the FA Cup has never been a problem to Arsenal. Maybe, actually, it is harder for Arsenal to win the Carabao Cup, Carling Cup, because we have two in our history than the FA Cup, because we have 14 and we are the record holders. So that is what we're talking about this morning. What are your thoughts on Mikel Arteta's comments that Arsenal are building a winning team with the Cronkies already backing him? And he says at the moment they need important players and they will attack the market. The confidence he speaks there, with in that statement, we will attack the market to get the players over the line. It means the money is there, the plan is already rolling, and just be excited. Right, let's dive into some of the other interesting parts of his interview. Mikel, he was also talking about, was it PSG? Yeah, I think it was PSG. And he say, Mikel turned the PSG proposal. He says, I can only say that I'm happy at Arsenal. I feel loved, and I also I'm also appreciated by the owners. I love a lot of things, and I have a lot of things to do at this club. I'm very happy and really trust me. I'm incredibly grateful for being Arsenal's manager at this point in time. You've got to be grateful. You've got to be grateful because this is a job in the Premier League that many managers would love to get. Like, you remember that period in 2019, December, when we were in absolute turmoil. You remember the profile of managers that were linked with Arsenal, including Maximiliano Allegri, including Rafael Benitez, including the likes of Antonio Conte, including Luis Enrique. So you look at the profile of managers. I'm not saying they were going to sign for us. I mean, every manager comes with their demands and every manager comes with their terms and conditions. So maybe the terms and conditions at the time did not fancy us getting a top level manager, a top draw manager by that time. But what I'm saying is, for you to come in, on that shortlist, for Mikel Arteta as a novice to be on that shortlist with Allegri, with Luis Enrique, it is purely disrespectful to the establishment of such managers. But for him to be on that shortlist and then to go on and win the job and then do whatever he's done, build this team, rebuild the culture, he must be really grateful. Like, it's like when you wake up in the morning and you are in a singing contest with maybe Bruno Mars and Eddie Sheeran, and you are some kind of low life, nothing, and then you win it. I think that's what Mikel, did. But then I think he's also very grateful because there was that period of time when Arsenal finished 8th on double occasions, and many of the fans, including myself, were really frustrated because the progress at the time was going on inside rather than on the outside. The cleansing of the club was going on inside. There's no question about that. But on the outside, the results were not yet coming. But PSG, I mean, someone said in the comment section of that tweet that PSG are a shambles that are looking for a way to save themselves. And I'm telling you what, I think PSG have just failed to do what Arsenal have done in so many years, and yet we've done it in a very short period of time. 2019 to 2023, we've built a team that is pushing Manchester. PSG cannot push Manchester City in the Premier League. I'm telling you this. They can't push Manchester City in the Premier League, right? Because for me, apart from signing the shining players, the shining armors of European football, there is nothing they're building there. And Mikel, as a wise manager, as a very clever manager, of course he knows he can go to PSG, dictate what players come in, but can he dictate who and what takes place at the club with that amount of money, with the amount of influence almost each and everyone has at the club? I don't think so. I think he's got more influence than Arsenal. And if you're going to be a successful manager, let's look at Sir Alexander Chapman Ferguson and Arsene Wenger. You need to have a certain degree of control. Not only in your dressing room, but also of the events that happen that shape the direction of the club. And I think Mikel Arteta has been given that role. And because he's the footballing guy who understands football more than many of the people at Arsenal, when he says something that concerns the running of Arsenal Football Club, especially on the pitch, they listen. So he's not going to PSG. There's no question about that. He's happy at Arsenal. Thank you, Mikel. I mean, there are not so many people who turn down a very, very big contract in favor of staying with the project that they've actually built. And lastly, Mikel Arteta on the Declan Rice still says, but sorry, I cannot speak about players who are not at the club. I prefer not to comment. But listen to this. How about on Kai Havertz? He says he's talented, versatile as a player, and only 24. And he says talent has a price. He has already shown a lot, including winning a UCL. This is Mikel Arteta saying, I cannot talk about players who are not at the club. On Kai Havertz, no comment. No, he says talented, only 24, talent has a price, and he's already shown us a lot, including winning a UCL. He has just confirmed that Kai Havertz has signed for Arsenal. I'm not saying this to be excited. I'm saying this because it only makes sense. He has just said that he cannot talk about players who are not at the club, and then he just gave us a detailed opinion about what he thinks about Kai Havertz. It means Kai Havertz is an Arsenal player. Interesting. But anyway, I really do agree with Mikel. I think Kai Havertz is a player to watch for the next 5 years. Chelsea might have just made the Serge Gnabry mistake Arsenal made when we sent him to Bayern Munich, and he absolutely terrorized the world. I'll see you right in the next one. Mikel Arteta there confirming that we are having a big window, confirming that we have important players to come in, and we're building a title-winning team for a very, very long time. The Cronkies are behind the project.